Cold steel bit into his wrists. A camera phone flashed, searing the image into his mind. Just 60 minutes prior, he was Nathaniel Green, an executive deputy director of the FBI. Now, in the heart of Capital City Airfield, he was just another problem. And it had all begun with a single, dismissive stare. The Meridian evening air hung heavy, thick with the promise of summer humidity. After a grueling flight from Phoenix, Nathaniel craved only his waiting driver, a hot shower, and precious silence. His expensive, perfectly tailored charcoal suit moved silently across the polished terminal floor. No entourage, no fanfare. Just him, his precise suit, and the briefcase that never left his side. Inside, documents with a security clearance so high, most of the country didn't even know they existed. He passed gate C-12 when his gaze snagged on them. 2 airport cops near a service kiosk. Officer Harding, the younger one, gave his partner a subtle nudge. "Check out the suit," he muttered, a smirk playing on his lips. Officer Sterling grunted, his eyes raking over Green from head to toe. "Another one," Sterling thought, a sneer twisting his mouth. "Thinks his fancy threads make him untouchable. Too clean for this time of night. Let's go find out what he's really about." Nathaniel saw every subtle cue, the nudge, the knowing nod in his direction. 30 years in federal service taught him to read such intent a mile away. He held his stride. "Breathe," he commanded himself. "Don't give them an opening. They want a reaction. They won't get one." He heard their footsteps behind him a second before they spoke. "Excuse me, sir. Just you tonight?" Nathaniel halted, turned slowly. "Yes. And where are you headed?" Sterling pressed, his tone already carrying an edge. Nathaniel paused, not from fear, but cold calculation. A dozen moves played out in his head. Stay calm. Let them make the first mistake. "Is there a problem, officer?" he asked. His voice was quiet but solid as granite. Sterling looked him up and down again, his thumb hooked casually on his belt, too close to his baton. "You match a description." Nathaniel just blinked. "What description is that?" "Black man, 50s, expensive suit, carrying a briefcase," Sterling drawled, his voice dripping with insinuation. He paused, his gaze lingering on Nathaniel's dark skin, a condescending smirk playing on his lips. "Might be carrying something sensitive. We're just checking." The way he said sensitive made it sound like stolen, and Nathaniel felt a familiar heat rise in his chest. "He thinks I'm a criminal because I'm black and well-dressed." Nathaniel raised a single eyebrow. "There it is," he noted, their first misstep. "You mean I match the description of a federal employee heading home after work?" "Sir," Sterling snarled, stepping forward, crowding his space. His eyes bored into Nathaniel with undisguised contempt. "We're going to need to take a look in that briefcase." Nathaniel clutched it tighter. "I don't think you understand. My name is Nathaniel Green. I'm an executive deputy director of the FBI." A beat of strained silence. Then Sterling smirked, a cruel twist of his lips. "Oh, yeah?" He glanced at his partner, a snicker escaping him. "You got any ID to back that fairy tale up?" Without a word, Nathaniel reached into his inner jacket pocket and pulled out his credentials. Government-issued, photo-bearing, unmistakable. He held them out. Sterling didn't take them. He just stared, as if the badge were a piece of trash. "You can wave some badge around all you want," he laughed, his voice laced with mockery. "Doesn't mean we have to believe you." Heads were turning now. A girl with earbuds. A woman pushing a stroller. Someone pulled out a phone, recording. "I'm not waving anything," Nathaniel stated calmly. "I'm identifying myself, as is protocol." "We're the protocol tonight," Harding cut in, his voice sharp. "We're taking you in for questioning. You can explain everything downtown." Nathaniel didn't flinch, but his lips pressed into a thin line. He looked at the growing crowd, at the cameras. He felt the cold edge of fear trying to creep into his breath and crushed it. "Call the National Security Division liaison." His voice was a clear command now. "Or better yet, call your supervisor, right now." They didn't move. Instead, Sterling reached for his briefcase. Nathaniel took a step back. "Do not touch that. You have no authority to search." "Hands where I can see them!" The command was a public slap in the face. Loud, crude. They both moved in, cornering him. He didn't resist, but he didn't help them either. His body was still, his voice clear. "You're making a mistake." But they weren't listening. Sterling grabbed his arm, twisting it behind his back. Harding unclipped his handcuffs. The briefcase slipped from Nathaniel's fingers and hit the floor with a heavy thud. The crowd gasped. Dozens of phones were now raised in the air. The officers didn't look around. They were locked in. He was officially detained. But one phone call, just one, was about to change everything. Nathaniel didn't fight the cold metal as it closed on his wrists, and he didn't lower his eyes. He just stood there, straight-backed and cuffed, staring right through them. The gawking crowd's silence pressed heavier than the steel biting his skin. Officer Sterling leaned in close, his breath reeking of stale coffee. "You have the right to remain silent," Sterling mumbled, the words sounding hollow like he didn't believe them himself. Nathaniel's voice was steady, cutting through the murmuring crowd. "Do you have any idea what you're doing? You are unlawfully detaining a federal official on United States soil." Harding, the younger one, snorted, a dismissive sound. "Sir, we're keeping this airport safe. You being combative isn't helping." Combative, Nathaniel thought, a cold fury simmering. "I haven't even started." His eyes remained locked on the two officers, ignoring the sea of cell phones that had formed a perimeter around them, recording every humiliating second. "I have shown you federal credentials," he said, his voice dangerously low, a quiet threat. "I have told you who I am. I am not resisting. But if you continue down this path without verifying my identity, you are walking into a fire you are not prepared to handle." "Sir, you're done talking," Harding said, motioning with his head toward a nearby bench. They escorted him over and sat him down hard. His briefcase remained on the floor, ignored, a symbol of their arrogance. A woman in the crowd, her voice trembling with indignation, shouted, "Are you really arresting that man? What did he do?" Harding turned and pointed, his face hardening. "Keep moving! Nothing to see here!" That only drew more eyes. The whispers grew louder, a buzzing chorus of disbelief. Sterling shot his partner a sharp look. "Get his ID," he muttered, his confidence finally wavering. Harding scooped up the credentials from the floor. He stared at them. His jaw went slack. His fingers hesitated as he turned the heavy badge over in his hand. Once, twice. The weight of it, the official seal, seemed to suddenly register. Sterling?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. "What?" Sterling snapped, still trying to project authority. This looks real." Sterling snatched the credentials from his partner's hand. He looked at the photo, at the raised federal seal, at the holographic clearance strip. His eyes darted from the badge to Nathaniel's face, then back again. A flicker of genuine fear, raw and undeniable, crossed his features. "Where did you get this?" he asked, but all the bark was gone from his voice. It was replaced by a thin, desperate whine. "I didn't get it," Nathaniel said, locking eyes with him, his gaze unwavering. "It was issued to me after a 28-year career in law enforcement, the same career that probably trained the men who trained you." For the first time, raw hesitation flashed across Sterling's face. Harding shifted on his feet, looking around at the growing crowd, at the airport security agents who were now hovering, their faces tight with concern, their radios crackling with hushed urgency. "You could have just said," Harding started, a pathetic attempt at justification. "I did," Nathaniel cut him off, his voice like ice, sharp and unforgiving. "I said it 5 minutes ago. Then I showed you proof. You chose what you wanted to believe." Sterling opened his mouth to stammer something, but a voice crackled through his radio, sharp and loud, cutting through the terminal's sudden, eerie quiet. "All units, Terminal B security. We have an SD inbound to your location. Code 542. Agents en route. Stand by." Sterling froze. He looked at Harding, whose face had gone pale, a sickly green. "What's 542? The younger cop asked, his eyes darting around nervously, a frantic mouse caught in a trap. Sterling swallowed hard, the sound audible in the sudden quiet. His voice was a choked whisper. "High priority, personnel, mishandling." Suddenly, Nathaniel's earlier words hung in the air, with terrifying weight. He leaned back slightly on the bench, his expression unreadable, a silent judge. He didn't have to say a word. Their faces said it all. The cuffs came off. Harding fumbled with the keys, dropped them with a clatter, then snatched them back up, his hands shaking. This is just protocol, sir," he stammered, a desperate plea for absolution. Nathaniel rubbed his wrists, looking at the angry red marks the steel had left behind. He met Harding's eyes, a cold fire in his own. You need to stop saying sir like it erases everything you just did. Sterling bent down, his movements stiff, to pick up the briefcase. He offered it to Nathaniel, his hand trembling slightly. Nathaniel didn't take it. He didn't even look at it. His gaze remained fixed on Sterling's face, a silent, powerful rebuke. You do not touch classified materials without clearance. Sterling's hand froze in midair. The entire concourse seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the hammer to fall. Nathaniel Green stood up. He adjusted his suit jacket, a gesture of calm authority. He looked both men directly in the eye, one after the other, his gaze piercing. You better hope your chain of command is more prepared than you are. It was already too late. He stood in the middle of the terminal, surrounded not by agents, but by a raw, quiet humiliation. The crowd was no longer just documenting. They were waiting to see what he would do next. Nathaniel picked up his own briefcase. He dusted it off with a flick of his hand and locked the latch. A deliberate, unhurried motion. Then a new voice cut through the air, firm and clear. Excuse me, officers. The voice belonged to an older man, perhaps in his 60s, his posture ramrod straight, his eyes sharp and unwavering. I asked what's going on here, he said, pointing a finger at the officers. This man says he's the FBI Executive Deputy Director, and I know for a fact he is. I watched him on the public forum last week, testifying before the Oversight Committee. Before Sterling or Harding could respond, a Capital City airfield supervisor rushed onto the scene, her face a mask of horror. Sir, I am so incredibly sorry, she stammered to Nathaniel. We had no idea. She spun to the officers, her face furious, her voice low and dangerous. You detained a high-level federal official without notifying Oversight? Are you insane? He refused to comply. Sterling started, his voice a desperate croak. No, Nathaniel boomed, silencing them. I complied. I identified myself. I provided credentials. You refused verification. The supervisor stared. Before she spoke, two men in dark suits cut through the crowd. Deputy Director Green. Their jackets read National Security Division. The lead agent, jaw set, reached Nathaniel first. Sir, are you all right? I'm fine, Nathaniel said, his tone flat. The agent turned to Sterling and Harding, eyes narrowed. Who put hands on him? Sterling stammered. The agent cut him off. Stand down, now. Harding looked like he wanted to vanish. Sterling stared at his shoes. The NSD team moved fast. One agent took the supervisor's statement. Another confirmed Nathaniel's identity with a biometric scan. Pull all security footage, the lead agent commanded, his voice echoing. I want body cam data from both officers. Internal Affairs will be waiting when they clock out. No suggestions. This is crazy, Sterling muttered. The old man from the crowd stepped forward. No, he said, voice ringing. What's crazy is you thought you could treat him like just another black man and nobody would notice. Silence fell. Nathaniel adjusted his briefcase. I'd like to leave now. Of course, sir, the agent said. We'll escort you. He walked away without a backward glance at the two ruined officers. His silence was not forgiveness. They knew it. Inside the dark sedan, Agent Anya Petrova waited, controlled fury on her face. She was Nathaniel's lead agent. Sir, are you hurt? She asked, voice tight. No, Nathaniel replied, weary. But I'm tired, he flexed his hands. The red cuff marks were visible. Petrova saw them, jaw tightening, and looked away. The terminal is swarming with press, she reported. 3 videos of the incident are online. Going viral. Nathaniel stared out the window. Let them circulate. Internal Affairs has quarantined the officers, Petrova continued, grim. They're scrambling. Nathaniel gave a humorless shake of his head. That's not my concern. Silence filled the car. Petrova spoke again, softer. Deputy Director. 3rd time in 4 months. The Academy elevator. The Sunstone background check. Mix-up. Now this. Nathaniel turned to her, eyes like cold steel. I keep receipts, Petrova. This one just happens to come with video. Back at Capital City Airfield, things unraveled fast. In a stark security room, Sterling paced like a caged animal. Harding sat, head in hands. You think we're done? Harding whispered. Sterling didn't answer. The door opened. A federal investigator from the Ministry of Legal Affairs walked in. He looked like he'd forgotten how to smile. His voice was gravel and ice. Both of you are off duty, effective immediately, he stated, dropping 2 sealed folders on the table. Badges and weapons suspended. No media contact. No contact with Deputy Director Green. Understood? Harding nodded, defeated. Sterling scoffed. The investigator leaned forward. Let me be clear. This isn't going away. The man you disrespected is a decorated federal servant with more clearances than both of you have years in uniform. The nation is watching. We didn't mean, Harding started. But you did, the investigator cut him off, voice lethal. And that's the point. In the dark sedan, Nathaniel Green sat in silence. His phone buzzed. A text from his daughter. I'm so proud of you. Don't let them break you. He closed his eyes, then opened them. Focus absolute. Petrova? Sir, schedule a press briefing tomorrow, 8 a.m. sharp. Call the Bureau's media unit. I'll write the statement. The next morning, Deputy Director Green stood behind a podium at FBI headquarters. No teleprompter. He looked directly into the cameras. Let's not waste time, he began, voice calm. You've seen the footage. Last night, I was detained, handcuffed, accused of impersonating a federal official. Despite identifying myself, my words were dismissed. My identity questioned because of how I look. His hands rested on the podium. This isn't the first time. It won't be the last. But this incident wasn't about me. It was about how easy it still is to see a black man in a suit and imagine a problem. Not a public servant. He let that statement hang. My response isn't revenge. I don't want those officers destroyed. I want them and the system educated, to value service over suspicion, to see a human, not a stereotype. He paused, gaze sweeping the room. I'm not asking for apologies. I already received one, on their knees when they realize consequences. That regret comes from consequence, not conscience. If society only learns after public shame, we are failing. He stepped back. The questions could wait. The message was delivered. He walked away. Later, he met Sterling and Harding. No cameras, no staff. Just the three in a sterile conference room. He didn't sit. His sleeves were rolled. I'm not here to yell, Nathaniel began, voice dangerously quiet. I'm here to make sure you understand. You looked at me and didn't see a man. You saw a threat because I didn't fit your picture of power. You saw a black man and you saw a problem. He stepped closer. Harding flinched. Sterling stared at the table. But here's the truth, Nathaniel continued. Power doesn't look one way. It doesn't have one accent. It doesn't only come in one color. You made a choice based on a racist assumption. That's human, yes, but it's also a choice. He paused, letting his words fill the room. But when you wear a badge, just being human isn't good enough. You have to be better than your instincts, better than your prejudices, better than the system that allowed you to think this was okay. He turned and walked out, leaving them to drown in the bitter lesson. The consequences were swift. Sterling and Harding were reassigned to desk duty, careers permanently stained. In the following weeks, Officer Harding requested to join a new Bureau training pilot. Officer Sterling did not. Their paths split forever.